pointed out that there are already teacher-developed systems that you don't need additional tracking forms for, and I love the teacher for doing this. Okay. Sorry, I had to get there, you know.
So now we'll be setting up for success.
I have a real quick question. How do you keep track of Andre if he's like mainstreamed out for science, math, and social studies, and teacher does not have that system in her classroom?
This is only happening in our classes, in our self-contained classes. He's not mainstreamed for anything other than PE. It's not happening in PE. So it's happening in 5 of the classes that he's in. The other 3 periods of the day, one of them is lunch, PE, and study hall. Of those 3 things, he's not getting tracked. He's only getting tracked in his 5 academic self-contained classes.
Okay, but if he was mainstreamed out, then he's getting less of a chance to get hole punches of somebody who's self-contained.
Then we would individualize it, but for this, in this case, it worked.
All 3 of the kids are in the same classes together during the day.
And by seeing, I mean, you know, you're talking about 15-year-old kids who are happy getting punches. I think if you had kids going out in the mainstream, the punches would not motivate them. So, you know, this is really stickers. It's the same thing as stickers for kindergartners and first graders, but they're happy getting punches.
And that's what works here, but it's not going to work in another situation. So we'd have to brainstorm that for that kid that is mainstream we're having issues with, and his plan's going to look differently than this one can.
So let's talk about how we would set Andre up for success. What are some things that we would need to get in place to set him up for success? Let's think about where this will happen.
I have the slide, but
It's a lot of stuff to read.
it's a lot of stuff to read. So you guys will just have to read it.
Do they want to listen?
Yeah, it'll put him to sleep. I think we should go to the one where it's listed this way.
Well, yeah.
It's the same
You
thing.
don't have the where it'll happen and how long.
Well, we can say that part.
Okay.
Just give a few examples.
So we need just to know what the interventions are that are going to set him up for success, where it's going to happen, when and how often, who's going to be responsible, and then when we're going to start. So what are some things that we need to make sure are going to happen to set this kid up for success?
Well, let's start with the one that's already in place. Let's continue the punch cards in the classroom. We can monitor that daily, and then you'll be able to continue with that, right, as the classroom teacher.
Okay.
And also give constant praise and verbal reminders.
So what do you think our goal should be for him? At least how often are we going to want to make sure that we, obviously more is better, but.
Well, I would like to be able to set up some kind of timer to remind myself, because I know sometimes, like, I give the first reminder, like, nice job, you're working hard, and then I totally forget. And so I have to, like, set a timer for myself to remember to give the praise. So every 10 or 15 minutes, I would say. Oh, what else?
Well, we know that it's posted in the classroom, so he knows what the expectations
Very
are.
very visual. And what else am I going to do as a teacher? I'm going to make sure that I contact his mom weekly. And then also, one of the things we talked about is, because he's not allowed to bring money to school and we don't want to lay out our own money, we're asking Mom to send money ahead of time that we'll keep in a drawer somewhere, so that if he does earn enough points on a daily basis, we can give him $1, but it's actually Mom's dollar, for him to get a reward.
The class goes down on every other Thursday when we have a late arrival day. We go down to the vending machines, because the way the day works out, they end up getting lunch really late on that day, and the kids are really hungry. So he's not allowed to have any money on him anymore. So when we were going down to the vending machines, the teacher was having to get his candy bar or whatever he was picking. And so we decided, instead of having his mom send money in for him, we would have money sent in by all 3 of the kids in that class, so that everybody was kind of in the same boat. And they were all very cooperative, so that's good. Okay. It sounds like we have a lot.
What about the aid?
He doesn't have an aid.
Discussion. But wasn't there discussion?
Oh, yeah.
And then we put that
We did have a long discussion about the fact that it happens more in unsupervised time. How do we track unsupervised time. It's a problem for all of us with dealing with that when you have a kid who's got problems in that situation. And we even toyed and talked about with our program supervisor about whether or not we were at a place where we needed an aide to be following him in unsupervised time, because there's a kid that's in trouble with the law and there's a lot of things going on. And we shelved that for now, but we're watching it and we're tracking behavior, and that is a consideration. But we had a long discussion about that and decided we can only watch what we can watch for right now and see if we can see better results in the areas where he is supervised, and obviously be tracking any information of things that might happen in unsupervised, but that we would be focusing on that to start with his plan. And we would sort of table that idea for now of having somebody follow him every moment in school.
And so without somebody who's tracking him, we're depending on the other children to give him up. And so far, that's working.
You think?
Yeah, as far as we know. Okay, and what do we know that is motivating?
Are we doing the skills? Teaching him the skills?
I thought we were doing it all at the same time.
Okay, no, right here. We didn't do we're doing the which skills? Set up for success, teach skills, and then motivate. Sorry.
So I'll teach it in my classroom, I'll go over that. Reteach and teach, as if every day's the first day of the year. Just go over it all over again.
And we also talked about right now he has to go to the school lunch every day, and so he has to check in. And so we'll go over his expectations of checking in, that he's not going out. And so we'll make sure that that is done to make sure that he is checking in where he needs to, as while he's still on on-campus restriction.
What that means is that we have, because Hersey's an open campus, the kids can go out to eat. Anybody can. But if they're on restricted lunch, then they have to check in with one of the lunchroom monitors. And so he has to check in and make sure that he's staying in there. That fell through the cracks one day, and that's how he stole something out of somebody's gym locker. But that's what Terry's talking about. So we have been teaching and reteaching the skills, that's for sure. Now what about motivation?
Well, I mean, I talked about that already, that dollar with the vending machine, and kind of jumped ahead. Sorry. And
All right, some of the restrictions that have been placed on him from the dean and from various things, we want to give him the ability to earn these privileges back. So we're looking at, we already talked about he could earn at least a special lunch off campus, that while he's not allowed to go on and off, he can at least earn a special lunch, supervised lunch at this point, off campus, and then earn the ability to carry money to the vending machine by the punch cards.
And the dean had said that he was suspended from going out for lunch first semester. Second semester starts tomorrow. Do we feel like he's ready to go out tomorrow every day for lunch?
No.
So what should we do?
We need to figure out a way that we have to figure out a way he can earn that back and not just see that as a privilege, not as a right.
So maybe
But we want to give him the chance to earn it back.
let him go out once a week?
Okay, yeah. We'll have to figure out how much we think what do we want his punch cards to look like? What do you guys think? To be able to earn back once a week?
You probably have to base on what he's been doing so far, how quickly he's been earning those 100 points, and then if you want to motivate him a little bit more, shorten that time period and see if he can get it sooner.
Well, we can go ahead and track how many he's getting in a week, and see what kind of behaviors we're getting in a week. We're seeing improvement, so we want to continue that way. So we are marking it now by week, so we need to figure out how many punches we want for him to be able to earn his lunch out once a week. So who's going to take that?
Do you want to know how this really played out?
Yeah.
Here's,
Okay, so at this point, this is where the plan stopped. Okay, the team stopped for a bit, and then we put all of this down into a sheet that sort of looks like the plan you've been looking at all day on your own self, and we put all the same details except for who's going to do it and when, so that it could be on this one-page paper. There's a couple of other different styles, and in your handout, I've given you a couple of those. And there is also one that's actually for instructional planning. So if this problem wasn't so much behavioral, but was how we were going to teach a skill deficit, there's a sheet in there to show you that. And then we started talking about how we were going to monitor the progress of this. And so we were looking at the daily punch cards, we were looking at that whole process and how often we were calling home and what we were telling Mom. And then you've already seen these slides. Now, the team has taken a break. Okay, their meeting is over. They're really not sitting here anymore, and the calendar goes flying through like in the old movies where the days of the week just peel off the calendar. We are now to the end of December, the beginning of January. We're back at school, okay? And now you get to tell us about how the plan is working.
Looking at your plan, now, the interventions that you had for the plan were based off the 3 target behaviors, right? The stealing, the physical aggression, and the not following school rules, right? That was based off of. And you said that the function of that behavior with your hypothesis statement was to more or less pure acceptance, right? Looking cool. I mean, was that, am I understanding that?
It was that attention and tangibles. Like he wanted the stuff and he wanted it now, the stuff that he was stealing.
So immediate gratification.
Right.
So there was an immediate gratification piece and there was the attentional issue with peers, okay. Those interventions, which one of those interventions addressed the issue of the peer attention? Was there an intervention that talked specifically
lunch out with
to, being able to create that without the negative behavior? You understand what I'm saying? So having an intervention specifically related to the function. I saw a lot of reinforcers and things to changing the behavior, but not really speaking to the function of why he was doing it in the first place, if that's what your hypothesis is.
We did put the lunch with peers.
I think the reason that lunch, earning that once a week back, the peers still could go out for lunch. And so what really motivated him was to be able to go back out to lunch. And so what we wanted to do is make sure that he was behaving well and not stealing before he came, before he could do that more often. The other thing is that the teacher tends to give a lot of reinforcement in class as they're shifting from the punch cards to the pluses. Really addressed what you're asking about. So it was more of the in-class, what they were getting, sort of, competition between them that really addressed it at that level.
With that, he could look cool and be cool because it worked in this class by doing the right thing instead of doing the wrong thing, by letting his chart go up actually had been accepted by the class well and seen as a good thing. So he does have the ability to now look cool, and at least by his chart going up, because his friends value that.
All right, so what happened?
So how it actually played out is they were supposed to have 100 points by the Friday before winter vacation, and that was what our date was to go out for lunch. That didn't happen. It could have happened, but the one boy who needed it the least was the only boy that had $100. Andre and another girl did not have it. And so we decided to extend it 2 more weeks so that it would be the Friday before finals, because we wanted everybody to feel successful. And so every time I was in the building, which is 3 times a week, of those 2 weeks back to school, I was always going in there and being very encouraging, which was actually motivating to him, and they all did, him by the skin of his teeth. The other 2 did make it, but we all got to go to lunch.
That's where we are right now.
So is the plan working?
The plan seems to be working. We talked about at lunch if they were having fun and if they wanted to keep doing it. They all wanted to keep doing it, and so now we're shooting for March, for the Friday before spring break, without 2-week extenders.
And the important thing, too, is the classroom teacher reports that classroom behaviors have improved, and it's not just getting this lunch, but that we're seeing improvement. There's been no incidents of stealing, so some of the target behaviors that we're looking at have definitely improved. So, we're not that far into this plan, so we're going to continue to watch it and monitor it.
We were a little bit concerned that going into not having the prize so close that he might not be as motivated, but that hasn't seemed to be a problem. He seems to still be motivated. I think some of it is the competition, but whatever works.
So we've tried to cram in several weeks, into several months almost, into this, and I'm just curious if there's any additional questions that you might have. Any other comments you'd like, other ideas that you might have for this team with this kid? None of you have Steelers, right?
I have a question. When you had the chart up there about the positives, making 25, 50 points, were the other students involved because you also noticed that they had problems too, or were you doing it just to not signal out this one student?
Teacher, why don't you talk about that one?
I think they each individually had their own issues, so we could address those individual issues with the punch cards. And so what Andre, it almost slipped out. What Andre was working for was his concerns, and then one child has other issues and another child had other concerns. So they were all needy in their own ways.
They were our concerns, they weren't their.
Right. So that's how it worked out. And also, I have to say that the kids, I'm sorry, that I had those students for 3 years in my class, and they're like siblings. I mean, they've been together, this group, for 3 years, and they encourage one another. So the other two, it's not like they're going, ha, 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 I beat you, I beat you. They're saying to him, come on, come on, come on, we want you to come with us. So they're encouraging him as well. So it's a, you know, good for him too. He gets that positive from his friends.
Thank you, guys. You get to find your seat again. All right, so as we go through, and you see that we've talked about the progress of this, and we're going to be reviewing it again, and in our monthly meetings that we have over there, we are definitely going to be reviewing it. So think about how you can be the change you wish to see in the world. Just remind yourself to go back to page 19 one more time. And now, based on what you've seen this afternoon, is there anything left you want to put into your own plan for success? I hope that you're coming away with some things. And then, so here's your plans. And then on the back, you have my contact information. And I've given you a couple of resources to look at. If you can't read these or need them actually linked, email me and I'll be happy to send them to you. So, and I think we did it. We have 5 minutes.